Doing a quick trip through the garden here. We're getting ready to head to eastern Kentucky, but it is Friday, and so I'm gonna do a quick walk through, see if there's any tomatoes I need to pick out before we leave. I'm going to do a grandpa bean update and an update on the sweet potatoes. All right, there is so we are making potatoes. I need to keep that covered up, keep the sun off of it. Yeah, we're making potatoes. I see here's something you don't want to see. Okay, we got all that rain the other night. The result is it'll cause your tomatoes to split when they haven't had enough rain for a few days, and then they get a bunch of rain all at once. They kind of hit a growth spurt, and then they'll split, and that tomato right there will rot. So we're going to go ahead and pick it and probably feed it to the chickens. They really like them. We got a quick little trip through here. A bunch of those little cherry tomatoes are split too. There's another one split. We didn't lose many. I was bragging about my tomatoes a couple of weeks ago because they're shaded, and that kind of helps fend off the blossom end rot. And then we had a week of in the 90s with heat indexes in excess of 100 degrees, and my tomatoes just said, all right, we're going to take a break. So they took a break. So I don't have as many green ones as I had. I got a few, but I've got blooms now coming back on. If you can see those, a few green ones, you know. But that heat really hampers it. Here, check this out. That's my first hillbilly tomato. That's my favorite tomato. They're really good. Like, if you like a Cherokee purple, you would like a hillbilly. They're just a big old mushy, slicing tomato, big, very juicy. They're really good. Heirloom variety. But here's the grandpa beans. Now remember this plot right here that I'm going to show you. 3 weeks ago today had potatoes in it. I dug the potatoes. There's a video of it. Tilled it all out. Planted these beans. Didn't put any fertilizer down, anything. Just pulled the potatoes out, tilled it, planted the beans. And this is what we have 3 weeks later. I've got to back up a little bit. So. And you're not seeing as many blooms now because we have little beans. So we're 3 weeks in, and we already have beans. Here's some pretty big ones. And I don't mean big and like they're not ready to eat, but they're a little more developed than the ones I just showed you. We'll have beans in a couple of weeks, or about 3 weeks. So we're about halfway. Yeah. So that's an update on the grandpa beans. Now these aren't like a lot of bush beans. Bush beans are popular to grow because they're so quick. Pull this pigweed out. My finger's stuck. Pigweed have thorns on them. These aren't like what a lot of people grow for a bush bean. They kind of bush up kind of big, and they stay up big, and you can go through and pick them. These will get up, they'll kind of come up, and then they'll kind of lay over. And that's why Amy's grandfather called them dirty beans, because they kind of lay in the dirt, and every time it rains, it splaces up on them. They're a cross between a pole bean and a different field bean, and he kind of crossed a tomato bean that he liked. And so that's what these are. So they're not like your traditional bush beans that you may go buy seeds for and plant, and they make these big kind of bushy plants that you can actually pick from. These lay on the ground. So I saw a bigger bean over here somewhere, but anyway, it's not important. That's the grandpa beans. They are thriving as expected. They always do. They always do us good. And from the looks of things, it's going to be a big crop this year. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, but They look really good right now. They're super full, lots of little beans. Everywhere you look, still got blooms. So I'll keep maybe those two back. You can't really tell where the rows are now, but those two back edge rows back there, I'll probably just leave those and let those grow. When we pick everything else, we'll just pull everything up by the roots and pick them. Here's pick these little beans right here out. Let's see, those are a little bigger, but we'll pull them up by the roots. We'll set out in the shade and pluck the beans off the vines, and then we'll put the vines in the compost pile. But those back two rows, I'll leave those and let them all turn white, and then we'll pick those off, dry them out, and we'll store them for seed for next year. And then as soon as we get these picked off, we'll till it up and plant probably mustard here or turnips, one or the other. But that's the plan. I like to grow cover crops through the winter to keep my garden from being just a big mud hole. But also, if I'm gonna grow something, I want to grow something that I can eat, and I like mustard. So we're gonna grow mustard, we're gonna grow turnips. And then the garden will be winding down. It is winding down. You know, we're entering that season where I put the tiller up, get the bow out, and start getting ready for deer season. But that's a quick garden update from your gardening real estate agent. Did close on a house yesterday. Congratulations, Jean, on her new home. She was tickled to have her own place. She said, it doesn't feel real yet. And I said, well, it won't be long. You'll be getting mail here. It'll be real when they start sending the bills. But she's very pleased. Sellers seemed pleased. Both agents were pleased. Nobody felt slighted or anything. So it went very well. Congratulations to Jean on her new house. She gave me a big hug at the end. Didn't expect that from Jean. Jean's not a hugger. But anyway, on to the next one. Going back to see my parents this weekend, so we're gonna be out of town. But be back in the hills and hollers of eastern Kentucky for a couple of days. Go to church with them Sunday, and then we'll be back here to weed eat and cut grass Sunday, because I may have to get somebody to come bush hog it and bale it for hay. It's gonna be so big. But it'll just have to wait, because I got places to go and people to see. Oh my goodness. This is what happens. This is what happens when you let your okra go too long. Look at this one. That one is borderline too big, because okra, once it gets too big, it turns hard and woody. You can't eat it. So yes, I have okra to pick. I'll pick that one. I'll pick that one. I'll go ahead and pick. You can see it. That one. And while I got you over here, check out the castor beans. See, there's some of them are starting to dry out and split. You're doing good too. That's a quick garden check. Let me get these okra picked and get in and get packed up and go head for the Mountain Parkway and go home. Gardening real estate agent, just a quick little trip through the garden. Grandpa Bean update. Jesus loves you. I love you. If you need any help with real estate, give me a call. Be glad to help you. Thanks for watching.